Hi, welcome back to the channel, Train Station 2, USA Railroad Revolution 4th Competition Progress Update. What's life after 100%? So this is the first competition we have mentioned. It's really tough, but surprisingly I managed to climb to top 10, which I'm going to show you all in this video. And I'm very lucky there. I got this bonus, the daily bonus. Managed to get a blue color train with 30 power steam, which is really useful, especially with my current lack of train size, and of course the fleet of the size of my train in region 4 is small. The only thing of course I wish would be the increase in capacity, but nonetheless, one blue train is another blue train. Very unlike the common trains which you normally get, so a blue train makes me really happy. So we have been mentioning that life after 100% completion in this event is really tough. Yes, that doesn't change the fact that competition is still tough. I was in the previous video, I think about 21st or 22nd position, so I was working really hard, thinking that the additional 5 or 10 EP points they're giving us doesn't really make much of a difference. Indeed, it does make a little difference. I believe along the way in this competition itself, many of the players while playing that competition would have hit 90%, and probably after they deliver one or two stuff which allow them to have the head start, they fall in the same category as us, which is really difficult to move forward. And I think unlike us, which we have already been hit prior to the start of the competition, so we know what to collect in terms of raw materials and produce what for the completion of the item. So probably we are more or less halfway mark at the new EPs of 50 each. So with that, that gives us a so-called slightly better advantage compared to those that are suddenly being shocked by the numbers when they first see the huge numbers after completion 100%. That may let them felt that frustrated and do not want to continue for a moment. That is the breathing space that we have in this competition, that we try to fight back that positioning. As I'm going to show you in this whole video, it's a very long video, a long process. I've seen myself climbing from 21st all the way to the 9th position. My target is 7th because I need 100 keys, as I mentioned previously. I need 4 more 100 keys, which is 4 competitions of 100 keys each. That's the reason why I need to really fight hard to reach back 7th position minimally. I'm glad I did it in 9th position so far. I really need to climb that a little bit more, the remaining number of hours today. Meanwhile, this is what I've recorded so far throughout the whole competition. You can see there the time as of now in this video is 1 day 7 hours left. So it's almost every hour event that I've been recording in very snips of so-called clips, so that you can see the whole process. Always remember, this process is a long one, so be sure that you know what you require to deliver. Have those raw materials brought back to your station, start to produce them first. Also, always when your trains comes back, check out what you need to produce, whether have you fulfilled the requirements. If you have not, then better work on that, because the factory needs time, lots of time in fact, to basically produce them. So if you're thinking just rushing to deliver them, you may be hit by the fact that at the moment you may got nothing to deliver, and that will be bad, because there'll be a waiting time, and then maybe you'll be tempted to spend gems unnecessarily. So do not do that, but rather spend that maybe 5 minutes after the trains are back. You go and check out what is really required to produce, and then go and do your so-called deliveries of raw materials from the site back to your station, and then go and produce them before you send your trains out again. Okay, on this juncture, you can see me climbing all the way up to 8th position, all because of that few 50 EPs job that's been delivered. You can see it's a new thing here. I noticed it's 45 EP. It's not 40, it's not 50, but rather 45 EP. So what's going to happen here is that with this 45 EP, it does give us an edge over those who have completed 40 EPs. We are initially being hit by 40 EPs before the balancing of the rewards by the developer. So I don't know whether it will be unfair, i.e. those who completed 100% recently, they'll be straight away given the 45 or 50 EP. I don't know about that, but if it does, then of course we suffer a bit of unfairness there. But nonetheless, what I'm trying to say is that as long you're persistent to complete like how you normally play the competition, there may be a good chance you may get at least 100 event coins from this competition. So the adjustment will be made after your first delivery of that 40 EP to 45 or 50 EP. So in other words, everybody now is equal. As long as you complete 100%, you'll be either offered a 45 or 50 EP. And when you just completed 100%, i.e. in the midst of the competitions, you have basically 99%, and then you complete it within after 1 or 2 deliveries, you'll be falling back to the category of those people that have completed 100%. So you can see there, progress seems to have stalled a bit for the people on top. My suspicion is that they have just entered into the region of 100% completion. So that's the reason why we could basically have a fairer competition in the next one, which means this is a 4th competition. In the 5th competitions, i.e. the next one, I believe it'll be a more level playing ground, i.e. everybody would have achieved 100% unless the player doesn't really play much in the first few competition and he's just starting to play the event. Then he'll be the only odd one out. They'll be with the highest number of EPs. But the rest of us, majority of us, I believe, would be so-called stuck with this huge consignments of delivery. Together, everybody will be placed on a level playing field. I believe that was the original thinking of the developer, thinking that everybody would have basically reached this 100% at the same time if they all played at the same pace. But that is practically not possible. That is theoretically, but it's not practical. It is not something that you can foresee because people have different playing patterns. So you can see that even though it's a 45 EP or 50 EP, it will take you a couple of hours to clear each one. So sometimes I was thinking that if it's a 50 EP, would I want to basically bin it away and then wait for the 45, because it does seem that the 45 seems to be smaller in quantity of delivery vis-a-vis the 50 EP. But then I realized if the EP 50 is asking for region 3 trains, I will not do that, because my strong foundation is region 3 in terms of capacity, and a large fleet of trains is so much larger compared to my region 4. So I always love to do region 3 deliveries because that is my strongest foundation ever. Of course, as compared to region 4, it is just the starting of a very small fleet with very small capacity. So I would really love to do that 50 EP, even though the delivery items that demanded is so huge, but nonetheless I know the capacity is really strong. Like one trains, when I send in, if it's a legendary, it could be 50 odd quantities capacity. So that's the reason why I'll continue and didn't bin off this 50 EP ones. Had the 50 EP with large quantity comes in and requested for region 4 trains, I'll definitely throw it away, and then hopefully it refresh with a 45 EP with a smaller quantity. So you got to manage this in terms of the jobs, and you also notice that certain jobs can be binned away, certain jobs can't. You can see here I'm back to 7th position. Just now I managed to hit 5th, but I believe some people managed to clear 1 or 2 and they managed to overtake me. So this competition, as we know from all competitions, is always the first one that reaches that points will be placed on top of the ranks, and the second one to come back with the same points will be placed below him or her. So it's always crucial that we should continuously work hard to try to get that placing early. Otherwise, like I think one of the competition, the second one that I did, I was just short of probably 3 seconds. I was placed on the 3rd place and I easily lost 50 event coins because of that 3 seconds. So you got to bear in mind this. Always try to log into the game if possible 5 to 10 minutes beforehand. Check out what you really need in terms of to produce. So you've already done all your planning, so the moment the trains comes back, you can already go and deploy straight away without wasting precious time, because we are fighting a very tough competition. This competition will be the toughest of all. You can see there it's dropping again. It's because of the unfair competitive advantage that those people haven't completed 100%. As I mentioned, the next competition should be level in a way, because most of us will have completed 100%. And I believe some of the very strong players or very aggressive players, they would have already hit 100% in the previous competition, i.e. the 3rd competition. That's why the 3rd competition I managed to get first, because I was one of them who did not hit 100%. So that's the reason why I did so well in the 3rd competition. So it is not so much as of the 3 hours delay, I think. So I don't know about whether the 3 hours delay has an impact, but now when I realized the aftermath of 100%, it seems like that is the main reason why I can propel all myself, my so-called placing to level to first in the 3rd competition. So if you already entered in the 100% region like me, do not worry. I think we'll do better in the next competition. If you have not entered into 100%, which should be quite rare, because most of us would have reached 100%, you will be doing very well in this competition. If that's the case, you've got to make sure that whatever you complete in terms of those so-called deliveries does not impact the percentage completion in the event. If that's the case, you will have a very strong advantage of completing the competition with a very high rank. So you got to measure yourself. You ask me which are the one that has percentage. I think you got to check out the progress chart itself to see which is the one that impacts it, because I wouldn't be able to tell you from my screen, because my screen doesn't have that anymore. So you got to check out your own progression chart to see whether that items actually impacts the completion percentage. So if you have not, congratulations, you have a really unfair competitive advantage against many of us, because we are all 100% complete. You can see here the quantity required are all very large, but they give us options in certain numbers that we can bin away. If given a choice, by right I should have been that region 4 epic trains delivery, i.e. the copper, but I decided not to, because I know copper is not that difficult to make and I should be able to complete them, because I know my own trains well. So always go and check out your depot to check out your trains capacity to see how many rounds that if you send out all 6 trains at the same time, how many rounds to clear, i.e. how many hours to clear them. So if 438, if per trip, i.e. with 6 trains, how many can I achieve? If I can achieve like 110, it just means that I need at least minimally 4 hours to deliver the whole batch. Then I think it's manageable. But if you need like 8 hours or 10 hours to deliver, then you should bin it, because hopefully they give you a better job with the trains that you really have very strong capacity in. Hopefully it's always in the previous region where you have a very strong fleet, if you just entered into a new region like me. So I will always love to do region 3 and not so much of region 4. You can see the difference. Region 3 is so strong. Every train capacity is 40 plus to 50 plus. So as compared to region 4, it may be 20 or 30 at max for these legendary ones, and for the steam ones, common, it'll be worse. It's like 4 capacity. So this is the problem that we'll be facing if it's region 4. So you gotta bear in mind this in order to plan well, and then see how you want to basically move your stuff across towards the customer's demand. Okay, so I still got this 3 very huge delivery that I work on, but I'm going to work on first how to basically produce them first, because that is really crucial. You can see all those they need tables, and we all know that producing tables is not fast, because we need those saw blades and we need a lot of timber. And bear in mind that we always have a capacity issue in the warehouse, so you always got to manage well how is your warehouse spacing going to work out for you. One way is, of course, as I mentioned, use the plant out tray as your interim warehousing purpose. Of course, the other way is to focus on one type of things and see whether you could basically produce for that and then deliver them, so you can reduce that warehouse spacing. Otherwise, my only concern will be the trains will be stuck at a depot because you could remove things. If that's the case, either you work out from your factories to see anything you can quickly use the raw materials. If not, the last resort will be you really got to bin away those raw materials or even completed stuff in your warehouse that you think that is not really crucial. So never have your trains stuck at a depot as your warehouse problem. All right. Okay, we collected another 150 of those tables. Of course, we are still a bit short. Okay, you can see there all the legendary trains are really good. They can deliver a lot of them at once. 6 trains went out at the same time, so I will require easily another 111 tables. But you can see the ranks has dropped so far. Many of us will have more or less the same points, but if you realize that people having like 5 points, i.e. like 3 to 5, it just means that the person will have already got 100%, because like us, we got 45 EP jobs. Okay, so that's also an indicator whether the player is indeed 100% completer, or the person is still within that 100%. So of course, if the person completed 2 pieces of 45, you may not see that result, of course, because it's rounded up to the nearest 10 back to 90, right? So this is just a one indicator for the fun fact. Doesn't really impact the competition, because you can't basically forecast anything, or you can't basically impede its progress. So always just you got to plan well in advance before you could do any delivery. Is really crucial. I've always been using like 6 trains at the same time, and then 1 hour later I log in a game to play that 6 train. So this is in terms of time management vis-a-vis your daily other commitments, you have a better advantage of that. But along the way, I realized I may need to split them up a bit, because I may be using like 2 trains to run some errands, to bring the raw materials to the factory. So now it became like 4 trains are out, and while the 2 other trains are working the factories, and of course working to the sites where the raw materials are, and vice versa. So this is strategy that you may want to deploy, i.e. keep besides the 4 trains that send out the items, use 2 trains or even 1 train to run all the errands, so you can continuously produce, and until the limit that you can hit for all the warehouse spacing is all depleted, and as well as all the factory outlets warehouse at interim warehouse spacing are all depleted. So this is also one way to do it. At this juncture, I still have about 11 hours 45 minutes, and now let's go to the best moments. We got the daily bonus. So I was really happy with that, because it's really feels good having a blue train rather than a white one. So a rare train comes good and comes in handy, especially this regions which are very poor in trains collection. Alright, finally we are reaching there. The tables, I can imagine we have cleared a few hundred tables. Luckily, initially I always store some tables in the factory. Likewise for chairs, I never expect that to be so useful. I just thought of fulfilling all the capacity as the output tray in those furniture factory, but it's proven to be very useful. So I'm doing the same for this glue, because I know eventually we may need it for as either a sub-component to craft maybe the plywood, or it may be just a delivery item itself. So it's always good to have this thing standby. As for gems, I mean, it's up to you. I'm trying to save up gems to expand the factory, but I know that sometimes in competitions you have no choice. You may just want to deploy that one extra dispatcher for that one day to move up the ranks a bit. So it's all your decision. But I thought the most expensive things to spend using gems were to expedite production. So try not to do that unless it's really like the last moments. Otherwise, it's really quite wasteful. Gems are hard to come by, so do cherish them, and then try to use them for factory upgrades. That's the most important. So you can see me using the 4x2 arrangement. So I've basically have 4 trains delivery and 2 trains doing some errands here and there. So this allows me to quickly do up all the things while the trains come back. They can pick up and send. As for the progress here, we're just a bit about 1,320 away from the finale container, and then we have insufficient event keys so far, so I can't really show you the purple train. I really hope to get that purple train, because that is the one of the target that I set. But of course, this wrong so-called wrongful ratio distribution by developer has actually impedes my progress a lot, and tarnished some dreams. Initially I thought every event we should be able to claim all 5 trains, i.e. 2 legendary and 1 epic and 2 other trains. So this is the first time I think the developer, I don't know, probably someone may have suggested in order to make more money from the event, they decided to do that. But it has backfired. That's why they try to make some adjustments, and hopefully they don't do the same mistake in the next event. Otherwise they'll be losing a lot of customers, and one of their revenue will be badly affected, i.e. those advertisement revenue. Everybody is watching a lot of advertisements, getting them all the revenue that they require. But at the same time, some even spend money for event keys. If a lot of people drop up, they'll lose a big chunk of revenue just because they thought that they could squeeze a bit more revenue by making things tougher for the players. Players may drop out, so this is something I think they gotta watch. Otherwise, they'll lose a lot of loyal fans for Train Station 2. Alright, I hope you like this video, and hope you all the best in the competition. Just remember this: don't give up, enjoy the game. Goodbye.